You lost yourself instead of her, attempting to hold on to her, but now you don't be able to identify the man in the mirror. This is a wake-up call, not a romance. We were alerted by Jean-Paul Sartre to the when you need someone to make you whole. You become a version of yourself and cease to be real. A shadow that reflected her desires and not your natural self. Have you ever sought her approval? Have you ever experienced a decrease in power while this video was created in an attempt to be sufficient? Watch through to the conclusion for you, as once you comprehend what Sartre observed, and you will never have the same perspective on her or yourself. Let's start over. The man who lives for, she kills her, keeping quiet. This isn't about hatred, about placing blame on women. This is about the facts. Regarding the operation of existence, Sartre thought you had a strong or nothing unless you decide to become your identity, your life, and your intellect. The page is blank, and each day you write your options to reflect who you are. But the issue arises when you allow a woman determine your value as soon as you believe that she completes me. You've given the pen, you've granted her authority over your spirit. And if she's young and maturing or figuring herself out and she perceives herself as emotionally mature, recognizes when a man begins to put her more than anything else, she is aware of when he loses his strength while attempting to hold her, and she withdraws when that occurs. Since she is cruel, not because she doesn't give a damn, but because genuine desire cannot survive in a place without strength. Can't endure when a man sacrifices his tension is necessary for freedom and desire. Power, it requires you to remain unique. Even with her there in your life, but young men are still unable to comprehend this. Consider, if I give, will I love her enough? She will never leave her everything. They feel that love is a commodity, that my work is worth her devotion. But that's not how life operates. Manner, and once that delusion dispels, the deep discomfort is experienced by older guys who have already, after going through it, they sat quietly to their former love interest, wondering when everything became numb, they recall a she used to want them back at one point, when they experienced fire views while they were enigmatic, unpredictable, and delicate. But they have now transformed themselves into something peaceful, something secure. Love is simple, but desire is difficult. The truth is that she has no desire for a man. She doesn't want someone who lives exclusively for her, a man who sacrifices himself in order to. She doesn't want to be safe, so keep her near. She is looking for a whole man. Remains steadfast despite her presence in his life, or not, she respects that man. She remembers that man. That's the man she wants, the man who is able to leave as the she can't guy. Forget Sartre realized something, that most people want things we can't have. Control, and love is no exception. A man who is capable of not needing her, walk into her life with confidence. Away as quietly as possible if necessary, that man gives her a strong feeling, although comfort, not safety, but something more profound, something that catches her eye, that makes her feel things she can't, not able to explain. Forget that you've already seen it. The silent, the cool guy, the guy who doesn't beg and who talks too much, doesn't pursue, yet he's the one she continues to consider. Why? Because he never made a mirror out of himself, reflecting her emotions, moods, and requirements. He remained stable, he remained motionless, remained like a mountain by himself, And women, remember the mountains? They recall the man who didn't fold the other man need their affection to feel deserving. Yes, that is, it's human to desire love. But the two feel like a man, you need love. You become less powerful and cease to be authentic. You vanish. This isn't a trick. Being cold is not the point of this. About the reality, real men create themselves. Initially, they are aware of their identity and they live their own lives with meaning. And love comes after them, not the other way around. On the contrary, you gave too much, and she felt less after hearing the advice to be open. Express your emotions to her honestly, all of that. So you opened your heart, you expressed all of your feelings to her. You told her everything you knew without keeping things from others. You believed this would draw her nearer. You believed she would feel secure and devoted. Yet rather she gradually withdrew. Not because she's cold, but rather because harsh. But you also offered too much. You rapidly dedicated your soul to her before she earned it. You got too comfortable to realize that it's too safe and predictable. Desire doesn't dwell in this reality. Comfort, you believe that it dwells in mystery. Your integrity would gain you trust, but rather it eased the tension it created. You appear weak and needy, and she sensed it's because of what captivates a lady. A boy who wants to be understood, isn't he? This man doesn't have to be the type of man who maintains his ground even when he doesn't understand. One is still observing. Acceptance, even if Sartre referred to this entity for itself, it indicates that you define who you are. Allow the feelings of others to mold you. You don't just become what people desire. To receive love, but you say, I am not here to impress you. Grow into your ideal self. I am who I am, and I won't change to keep you around. That's genuine, not arrogant. Manly vitality, the elder's strength man, is found in his actions, not in his words. Hasn't ever pondered why an elderly man who is peacefully seated at a bar can capture her interest without uttering a word? In other words, it's not his appearance. Charm, it has a deeper meaning because he already has nothing to prove. He's made the blunders after going through it. He's gone out of his way to please. He's pleaded, he's chased ladies, heartbroken, and he's finished now. Acting as though he doesn't want to impress, doesn't inquire, or provide an explanation. He is simply calm and steady enough to be accepted, anchored, and his quiet speaks for itself. More loud than any pickup line could possibly be young males. Believe that talking a lot is necessary. To appear strong but possess true strength, genuine gravity. It's silent, and ladies sense she might not comprehend it with her thoughts, but her body responds as a result of his. He's not displaying any signs of physical danger, releasing freedom, and that sort of freedom feels powerful and dangerous. Something is different. It's the sensation of being near a man who refuses to fold, who won't alter who he is to get favor, who will not plead with her to remain in her life, and when she encounters a man such as that, arouses her interest and desire, and indeed respect due to the profound every woman is aware of a man who doesn't. She can't forget you, the man who needs her. Cannot be the reward if you continue to take yourself away. Most men have something never comprehend, but it evolves. She will test you when you do everything. Not because she's cruel, not to harm you, but because she's curious about what she will pull if you prove that she is real. A way to observe your actions. Will you fear? Will you pursue her and end up losing? Simply because of her vitality in your center altered, she might start a fight and call. She might start a quarrel. Because of her passion, merely to irritate you, she might becoming aloof and chilly without a distinct why. Because she's curious about one. Can this man take care of me without crumbling? She's not searching for perfection. She seeks for fortitude. True strength is the kind that remains composed. Despite the room rotating, the type, just because she moves doesn't mean that, under such strain, if you fold, if you over-explain everything, go after her. Emotion. If you attempt to correct each change in her disposition, if you implore her to return when she starts to move away, you've already lost something more significant than herself. You no longer recognize yourself as a directional guy. You cease becoming. You lose your individuality when you're grounded. You transform into a mirror, reflecting her feelings, her anxieties, and returning to her the chaos she no longer feels. She simply sees a reflection of herself. No lady wants to see her mirror, but if you remain grounded, don't fold. Remain composed. If you don't react because she wishes to watch your response, then something deeper, and she senses your might, senses your independence, which leads to what Sartre referred to this as the anguish of freedom, yet not for you, but for her, as she understands that you are not pursuing her, not relying on her affection to feel a man. You can live without her. You're not hesitant to go if it means remaining loyal to yourself, and that she is struck with a sharp understanding, because that type of dude is quite uncommon. Desire is created by things, not because you're playing games isn't a sign of deliberately ignoring her, not because you're attempting to act aloof, but since you're just being who you are without, she is actually testing for fear. She's not testing. If you're kind, she's checking your authenticity, and when she discovers who you are, she will remember you. Considering that a man who doesn't give away, a guy who remains upright in the face of influence, a man who chooses her without that man needs her. Incredibly, you never missed her. You missed being yourself because you've heard the same things as a young person. Make her happy by giving her what she desires. Disturbed her, so you tried to keep the peace. You stayed out of trouble and suppressed your truth. You replied in the affirmative when you really wanted to refuse. But you said nothing when something didn't feel right, and gradually, when you realized it, you changed into someone else, transformed into a person who would keep her around. You've lost your edge. You ceased to be truthful. Being you before she drew you away. Didn't comprehend why you believed that had performed everything correctly, but the reality is that she didn't retreat due to something you did, and she withdrew. Since you vanished, you believed you were devoted to her, but in fact you were leaving. Sartre gave this awful thing a name. Faith is when you simply tell yourself a falsehood. To evade the harsh realities of liberty when you pose as someone else in the hopes you said it would make things easier. It was love for you, but in your heart she was aware that it was fear of losing it, of remaining by yourself, fear of rejection for your true self. And here's the hardest aspect, which she felt and noticed the instant you ceased being who you really were the once you began to hide behind quiet and solace, even if she was unable to describe how she felt when you ceased to believe in your own truth. And in that moment, something between you broke. She's not looking for a man who requires for her to inhale. People have told you that love entails requiring someone's songs. Movies and counsel all say show her you can't live by doing the same thing. Make her feel as though you're without her. Put her at the center of everything. Globe, so you invest yourself and she is the center of your existence. Try to demonstrate your concern by causing her to be the cause of your awakening in the morning. But this is the secret that nobody mentioned. She is not interested in a man who is in need of her. She needs a man who can breathe in order to survive. Perfectly acceptable on his own. Why? Because as soon as you give her oxygen, the moment of tranquility, joy, and your identity becomes to rely on her. Feels it, and rather than experiencing love, she initially feels pressure, and she may enjoy being wanted. It may seem flattering, but eventually something the man who starts to change inside her. The man feels heavy now, after feeling solid once. Who formerly held his own world now holds on to hers, and that transforms love can only blossom in everything you see. It can only breathe freely when both people stay the same, when both people gather as a whole. People, not two pieces searching for wholeness. If you want her to appreciate you enough to be genuinely attracted, to genuinely remain in touch with you, rather than out of habit or remorse, but once you must be able to function without her. This indicates that you have a mission of your own. You are not rocked when you have your own center. When she withdraws, you remain intact. You don't ask for anything when she's far away, just to feel as though you are someone, because when you develop into that man, you're not only stating the right thing, but acting words, but she feels it in her heart. Gravity is something she doesn't often feel. You don't try to find her or pursue her. You simply exist with strength, so wow her. Peacefulness and presence, as well as that presence, that stillness that contained its own energy, draws her in. She might not express it, not even quite understand it, but she senses even if she turns to leave, even if she selects a different person, even if you never talk again, and she won't forget you. Not for how much you donated, but for what you chased, not because of how charming, lovely, or you were available, but because you were complete, as you didn't give up to retain her since you were able to remain, but also have the will to leave. That type of individual is uncommon, and the reality is the uncommon man, who most women never forget, remained true to himself without requesting consent, without sacrificing his spirit. That's the man she wants to love. Recalls that she compares the man to others, believe that she is secretly seeing that man, wants to cross paths again in the future. So don't be the man who is unable to function without her, the man who takes deep, unrestrained breaths, whether or not she remains, because once you develop into the man you are, incredibly, it's not too late. Regardless of your age, you could be 20, and only now starting to comprehend who, after decades of stillness, you are 70 years old, making a sacrifice and losing sight of the truth. In any case, there is still time. Deadline for never forgetting. Your age threshold for waking up and selecting a distinct route. That route begins with something modest, yet strong. Refusal. Not the type of rejection that results from bitterness or rage, but the kind that originates from at last realizing your worth. You won't plead, you won't just give an explanation to keep her around. You're not going to lie about what you desire or how it feels to simply be accepted. Stop chasing you. Stop performing. Don't make yourself smaller to fit in another person's world, because this is the truth. You weren't supposed to be chosen. It was intended for you to solidify, become profound, to become a presence in order to powerful enough for people to experience even in silence. That is the definition of being the A. Sartrean man is one who doesn't make an effort to be what people anticipate, the man doesn't crumble for attention. Someone who doesn't give up their soul for a he lives from within instead of with much affection. He selects his values and follows his own path. He gives his own life purpose without seeking consent from others. And if she remains, if she departs, she departs, but the man stays, because the individual who remains intact, the one who doesn't fold or bend in order to be kept, is never really left behind. Why? Because he never abandoned himself first. Even though she leaves, even if no one bravo for speaking the truth, even if you stand when you're by yourself, you're not broken. Lost, you're just making your way back to yourself, and everything from that location changes, not because you acquired something, however, since you eventually stopped providing. You yourself closing remarks, you were not the same, the man who started this adventure. Something has changed inside of you. Perhaps it's not loud, it may not be obvious yet, but you sense that you are now silent. Although the feeling of loneliness has subsided, peace feels like it's about to arrive. You are no longer seeking love at home. Feel deserving. You're not bending anymore to keep others around you. You're not further details about who you hope. Someone is aware that you comprehend, and that's more than sufficient. You're no longer making progress, reducing yourself to gain acceptance. You're not to gain affection. You've performed, stopped circling other people, and now the world circles you slowly, because a man who doesn't, a man who no longer tells lies, folds himself only to have someone close to that. You finally understand that man is a force, something strong. You were never a component was missing, yet you were never broken. You weren't supposed to be finished by someone informed you that you were. You thought it was incomplete. But the truth is that you are worthless unless you decide. And in doing so, you turn into you don't require assistance with anything. You are who you are. You don't require a partnership to make you feel valuable. Don't require someone to identify you. Are you choosing to make that you own it? And it's true that freedom weighs a lot. Comes with accountability. It comes with aloneness, has its moments of uncertainty, as well as discomfort, but it also has tranquility, clarity, and strength. And you now possess that freedom. Owe no one the convenience of shrinking. Once again, you owe no one anything. Your silence doesn't mean that you have to give up your liberty simply to be adored or accepted. So go ahead and enjoy your freedom. Like a man, not out of fear or rage, but in silent power, and move forward. With your head held high, you walk calmly. Soul stable, since the rightful man, the individual, who no longer requires to be selected, but yet selects from a strength that a man cannot possess. He remains in her memory while being disregarded. Does not leave a mark because he pleaded with her to remain, but because he brought to mind something that she rarely